Well, hello. It is April 3rd, and let's not talk about how much snow is outside. Instead, I'd like to do a flex off where I talk about some modern flex pens. So, if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens, both new and old, at all price points, I invite you to subscribe. If I brought up anything you'd like to talk about today, please feel free to comment below. So what I have here, I'm still getting used to this green screen thing. I have 4 pens that are what I would consider modern flex. I have already been told I should include a vintage flex for comparison purposes, but I'm going to save that. I'd like to do another video maybe where I compare some vintage and modern flex. Perhaps I'll take the winner of this flex off if there is such a thing. So let's take a look at the pens that I have here. From left to right, I have a Noodlers Conrad. Yeah, I hear you purists. Chill out, dudes and dudettes. I have an Omas Ogiva cocktail. I have an Aurora 88. And yes, it's on its last few drops of ink. As you can see, so is the Omas Ogiva. And then I have a Pilot Custom 743 with a Falcon Nib. And I know some of you purists are looking at this Noodlers Conrad saying, really? Flex? Well, it's marketed that way, so we're going to go with it. And I thought it would be good to maybe throw a steel flex in here with all these lovely, much more expensive gold nibs. I'll just give you a quick tour of each pen. This isn't a review of the pens, it's just a quick look. So the Noodlers Conrad, this is the Forbidden City finish, which I just adore. I think that's beautiful. To this day, it's beautiful. This has ink in it. We are looking at a steel flex nib with a ebonite feed. And that's part of what Nathan Tardif did, as he really revived interest in modern flex. And there are several more offerings out there. I know Stipula has one. That company that starts with an M has one that I can't remember its name. That other company has one. Conklin, there we go. I think I heard that there's an Edison. It's a Yovo nib anyway with flex. This is the Omas Ogiva cocktail. I have the extra flexibile nib. I have a medium. I kind of wanted a fine, but at the time Omas had gone out of business, so I took what they had. Omas Ogiva is a cotton resin pen. Now they make their own nibs and feed, or did. The feed is ebonite again. So interesting company. Kind of sad that they've departed. I've heard of a revival, but it won't be the same. Aurora is still with us. Like I said, it's almost out of ink, so I'm taking taking advantage of the extra reserve of ink. I bought one that has the flex nib. It was a special edition 88 last year. This year they're bringing out the flex nib and the Optima instead. So I have the piston pushed the whole way down there. This is Aurora's flex nib. Might be interesting to compare to a regular, but I don't have one. And somebody correct me. Ooh, that's interesting. I hadn't noticed that detail before. Somebody hopefully in the comments can let me know. All of a sudden I'm wondering, I can't remember if this is a plastic feed or an ebonite feed. And then I have my Pilot Custom 743. This does use a plastic feed. I bought it originally. I was going to trade out the nib with my Pilot Custom 823, but I ended up keeping it in this pen because it turns out I like both. The other pen, the 823, has a fine nib. So this is a Falcon nib. It's cut a little differently. Now this one is designed for Japanese writing, which is made with shorter strokes than with our Roman alphabet type writing. So those are the pens we'll be looking at, and I'm just going to try and do my best to show you how they write. So right off the bat, I wrote this with my Noodlers Conrad. You can see some railroading. I will say this for Noodlers. They're interesting. You learn a lot about pens, but I find them inconsistent. And this one is a bit railroady. So what you have to do is either write really slowly, or the other thing I have seen suggested, you can saturate the feed a bit. So now that you've seen that, I'm going to do that. I'm going to just push the piston down. Oh, yeah. And pull back. Okay. So we'll see what happens. I have also been suggested that you put a little bit of tape over the nib. What it is it breaks the surface tension between... When the tines spread, the ink has to have some surface tension to hold in order to write when it's flexing. And if the surface tension breaks, then you get railroading. The ink in this is Noodlers. Oh, wow, much better. Let's see if I can do that a little more closely. I feel like I need to. That's about as close as my autofocus will let me go. So my ink is, so I have room, I'll just abbreviate Black Swan in Australian Rose, which is a particular favorite of mine. Whenever I compare flexing, I always, oops, too far. I always write the word flex. And then it's nice to do an unflexed version, and then a flexed, oops, too far again. Always flex on your downstrokes, not your upstrokes or cross strokes. And then some swoopy doodles. So not bad once I get it writing. It definitely takes some pressure to get it right, to make it flex. The amount of pressure I put on that would spring the nib on everybody else you're going to be looking at today. And don't worry, toward the end I'll do some side by side. So this is my Omas Ogiva. This one I'm always scared I will spring. It takes a very light touch and it just spreads apart. This is a medium extra flessibile nib. The ink in it, Stipula Saffron. So I will just say that is sweet writing with this pen. If we check out the flex, and I'm not pushing this pen to its limits, is a very wet writer in any case. But you can see I'm getting the same kind of line variation as I was with the Noodlers without the railroading. And of course, the ink choice plays a part in that as well. I know in other pens this flexes very well. So it's something about that particular Konrad that's the issue. My Aurora 88, of course, I've had to push down the piston so I get those last few drops of ink, and that's why I'm filming this now, because she is, oh God, she is empty. Uh-oh. And I was kind of afraid something like that would happen, because it is empty. There we go. You're supposed to be able to get one last page of writing by doing that. So I have Robert Oster, River of Fire. Which is supposed to have a little bit of flat, or a little bit of sheen if you lay it down thick enough. We'll see. I've had trouble getting it to show up on camera. So we'll do a little flexing with it. And this railroading, I really should have done this when it had more ink in it instead of putting it off. Railroading, it does it a little, but it's not typical. Oh, I just did the flexed version. Let's try that again. So unflexed, flexed. Definitely not as soft as that Omas Ogiva, but on the same time, it feels more robust. Like, I'm not terrified that I'm going to splay the tines or anything. I have seen some suggestions to use, a scale to write while pressing on a scale to measure the amount of flex, the amount of pressure needed. I don't know. I've never. I guess there's ways to measure it. I'm going by feel. So this last one, it's a Pilot Custom 743 with a Falcon Nib. Now this one, oops, you missed most of that. This one is, it's almost as easy to flex as the Omas Ogiva, but it feels, subjectively, feels a lot more robust. The ink in it is Sailor, Gentle, Grenade. We'll write the word flex here. Now I've read, although I have not experienced it for myself, some complaints that this pen doesn't allow you to do too much flexing. And I've read that that's because it's designed for the short strokes of Japanese writing. I don't know if it's true or not. I have not had any trouble with this one. And I'd say definitely more flex to it than the Aurora. And I would say it's about equivalent to the Omas, but just a little more effort required in order to flex it. So now let's do a couple writing samples where we look at specific, we'll compare the tests. Give the camera something to focus on here. The autofocus goes nuts if I don't have something. It does not like the white page. So first up is, we'll do, what do we want to do? Let's do this puppy. The unflexed and flexed cross-hatching. Unflexed and flexed cross-hatching. And right there, I think you can see why I wanted a fine in this pen instead of a medium. The flex would have been a lot more dramatic and visible. But, like I said, they were going out of business then, so I took what I could get. Unflexed. Flexed. And lastly, the Pilot. Unflexed. Flexed. Alright, let's do some swoopy doodles. By the way, this, I don't know if it's supposed to or not, but this Sailor Gentle Grenade also has a bit of a sheen to it that I see. This is not Sailor Gentle Grenade, this is Black Swan and Australian Rose. Oh, and I'm railroading again. You may have noticed that Noodler's pens are not appearing often in my pens in use. There's a reason for that. I like them. I'm sympathetic to them. I like that whole notion of somebody, an iconoclast like Nathan Tardif getting an industry going. But they frustrate me. There's no nice way to put it. All right, so let's just quick go back over that. and then I think you can probably guess which one's going to go up against the vintage flex, but just in case, let's just take a look here. So Noodlers Conrad, not bad. I really respect Nathan Tardif for bringing flex at such a low cost, but this railroading is a problem, and it is one that I've had on a number of their pens, so I can't give it to that. And then there's that the amount of effort it takes in order to flex. I mean, you can actually, you can't tell on this paper. You can kind of tell, maybe, how much it soaked through, though. Holy cow. So, not a winner. Omas Ogiva, very nice. I love that soft nib. That is amazing. But I'm not going to give it to this one because it doesn't have the fines that we find in the other three pens. And that's not the fault of it. It's because it's a medium. I wanted a fine extra flexibile, and I didn't get one. Wow. My Aurora 88. I will be honest, my sympathies, I kind of was hoping this would be the winner. In my heart of hearts, I knew it wouldn't be. I like the Aurora 88. I love the vintage one. I like the new one. It's a good flex pen. It's very robust. It writes very nicely. But it's not my most flexible pen. I'm going to give it to the Pilot Custom 743 with the Falcon Nib. I'm just very impressed by that. And we'll just look at the side-by-side down here. You know, I think it's pretty clear. It has the narrow narrows. It has the wide wides. It doesn't seem to railroad, which is nice. I'm just really impressed. And you can't see it, I don't think. The sheen, nope. It's not. The camera's not picking it up. But I have some sheen on each one of these swoopy doodles. So flex is not an essential thing. And you will find soft nibs out there. Now, soft is one that gives you a little bit of bounce, gives you a little bit of line variation, but isn't really a flex nib. And I'm sure the purists will argue these aren't really flex either. They'd say if you want real flex, go to vintage, you'll find. But this is a video about modern flex. It's good for adorning your writing and making it a little bit more visually appealing. There are other ways of accomplishing some of the same look. You know, the stub nibs, the different grinds, the obliques, the italics, and so on. Those will give you some unique look to your writing too without, you know, having your nib bouncing around. And that's one of the things that worries me with flex is there going to be a point where there's metal fatigue? I don't have a good answer for that. I'm going to say not because I haven't heard about it, but that doesn't mean it's not a thing. And I'm always afraid, especially with a really good pen like this Omas Ogiva, I don't push them to their limits because my fear is you push it and it goes boing! And then the tines don't go back together. Then what? And for the most part, flex, when you buy it in a modern pen, is very expensive. And, you know, some of them, you're even getting special Spencerian grinds and so on. I just don't want to risk it. So I don't push my pens that much. I've been criticized in the past. I always write the word flex on my reviews. I'm not really testing the flex of the pen. I'm not like, ooh, how far can I push this nib? No. Some nibs have a little give, some don't. Some have a lot of give. Obviously, this Pilot Custom 743 has a lot of give. But anyway, that's my little ramble on modern flex pens. So I am going to start working on, before this Pilot goes empty here, I'm going to start working on what do I want to compete against it from my vintage collection. So look for that upcoming eventually. And perhaps I'll do a video too on soft nibs. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe below. If you'd like to talk about any of the flex seen here, or perhaps suggest another flex modern flex pen or vintage flex pen that I should try. Please feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.